Hey, what's up guys, Jack here, and today we're going to be looking at what's next for the Battlefield series. It's been confirmed that the new Battlefield game is well into development now and coming this year via EA press releases, most likely to see a full release date as is regular with key Battlefield titles. What we know about this game so far, whatever it's going to be called, is that it's going to be military themed and it's developed by DICE Stockholm. Several DICE Stockholm developers have announced that they're working on the project via their Twitter profiles. As for the military theme, this was confirmed by EA CFO Blake Jorgensen in 2014 when he said he's already seen the game and it's shaping up to be a fun new Battlefield that will be a return to a military style game. More to come on that soon. So with that knowledge, we can assume that the game is based on a theatre of war, as is the case with all of the key BF titles. Exactly which theatre of war is what we don't know yet, of course, but it's always fun to take a few guesses and have a discussion about it. Before we dive in, I wanted to get some of your feedback on this, so I've created a little poll down in the description below that you can vote on, where I've offered up several different war-themed scenarios and ideas as to what I think are potential environments for the next Battlefield game. The idea being that you vote once on what your preferred war theme would be for the next BF game. So in the poll, in chronological order, we've got World War I, the Great War centered in Europe, 1914 to 1918, trench warfare, the arms race, a clash of 20th century technology and 19th century tactics, the birth of tanks, fixed wing aircraft, Zeppelin bombers, heavy artillery fire, chemical warfare, mustard gas and U-boats. Next, World War II, 1939 to 1945, the Allies versus the Axis, Tom Hanks, Berlin, the Battle of Midway, D-Day, Stalingrad, Pearl Harbor, iconic weaponry and guns, advanced military airplanes and bombers, Tiger tanks, Shermans, aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines and the race to nuclear bombs. Modern Warfare, you all know the score here. We've had a plethora of Modern Warfare games for over 10 years now, some based off the Gulf War, some based off fictional wars, the M16 versus the AK-47, fighter jets, laser-guided missiles, M1 Abrams tanks, attack boats, long-range 50 cal sniper rifles, grenade launchers, C4 drone strikes, you know what to expect. Next scenario, the near future. Now when I say near future, I'm talking a collection of modern and fringe tech weaponry and vehicles with a mix of fantasy and prediction. So we're looking at around 10 years after the Final Stand DLC, for example. So we've got stuff like handheld railguns, weapons that can shoot around corners maybe, early versions of hover tanks, more remote devices like the RAW being deployed, smart grenades, smart weaponry, etc. And finally, the 2143 scenario, full-on sci-fi future warfare, mechs, hover tanks and hover jets, Titan ships in the sky that you can board and battle on, Gauss rifles, railguns, jump packs, armor suits, the Edge of Tomorrow style, 2142 on acid, tripping balls at the school disco on Frostbite Engine 3. So those are what I think are the most likely scenarios for the next core Battlefield military themed game. And now, would you kindly go to the link in the description? It's a straw poll and vote on which one of those you would most like the game to use. I just think it would be an interesting thing to see which comes out on top here. And whilst I won't tell you what I'd vote for, I will now go into each scenario for a minute or two and quickly surmise why I think it's a possibility. First up, World War I. What do you think of when I say World War I? Probably trench warfare, gas and people going over the top. It sounds pretty boring for a video game, right? Verdun is a recent example of a World War I trench game and personally I just don't find it enjoyable. But if you actually look into some of the battles that took place during World War I and the massive variety of weaponry and vehicles they actually had to offer, plus that interesting mix of old tech versus new tactics and how the type of warfare and strategy changed during the course of the Great War, there's a possibility that there is enough substance here for an exciting Battlefield game. On the other hand though, from a marketing standpoint, does World War I really excite the mass gamer audience? And would it actually sell? I think most people see World War I in their mind's eye as black and white and very grim. And in terms of vast weapon customization, which you have to say many modern FPS gamers have come to expect, is there really much choice there with World War I guns? Moving on to World War II. 10 years ago, There were more World War II games on the market than you could count on your fingers and toes. Battlefield has already been there in BF 1942 and 1943. Back in the day, BF 1942 was an epic game that paved the way for massive multiplayer online shooters. There was nothing else quite like it at the time, and it consumed most of my college years. The sublime mix of large-scale infantry and vehicle combat, flying around in a B-17 bomber with mates taking out tanks on the ground. Now, imagine all of those war-torn epic maps and environments, rendered beautifully in Frostbite 3 with a ton of detail and destruction. Just thinking about that gets my juices flowing. I think World War II is a real possibility for the next Battlefield game, but will DICE want to go back there again and revisit the same tried and tested environments? Next, Modern Warfare. It's safe, it sells well, and after many years working on BF2, BF3 and BF4, DICE know what they're doing when it comes to this time period. The weapons are familiar, the gameplay is solid, and the balance is almost perfect now. It's a safe bet, but is it enough to feel fresh if the next Battlefield game were modern day yet again? What else could be done that hasn't already been done? I'm sure most people don't want another gimmick like Levolution. Yes, it was cool the first few times, but then after that, you tend to forget about it. Sometimes it even becomes annoying. I think Battlefield fans crave more unscripted destruction, harking back to the Bad Company games where players could really create their own landscape and lines of sight. And you have to look at this from the point of view of the developers as well. After making BF3 and BF4 one after the other for the last 6 years or so, I think you'd be pretty bored of creating the same old game. Producers, developers and artists crave a challenge and a change. They're very creative people. If I worked at DICE, I wouldn't want to make another modern military game. The inspiration and drive would just go out of the window. New challenges, new games are exciting and motivational. Whilst another modern military game is possible, perhaps it wouldn't offer anything revolutionary to the table. So what about near future? Is this more of an exciting proposition? I think it is. We saw glimmers of this in the wonderful Final Stand DLC created by DICE LA, with basic mech production beginning to take place, hover tank prototypes, flying drones with machine guns on the front and railguns, all mixed in with the modern military weaponry and armour. It worked really well in my opinion, and the levels in that expansion pack had a cool new and old vibe to them that we've not really seen before in a Battlefield game. I think a near future Battlefield with fringe tech guns and armour could be very cool and would offer up some new gameplay opportunities. And finally, full on sci-fi, Battlefield 2143. Now here is where DICE could really go to town with the variety of the gameplay and innovate with the series. You could have crazy new equipment and game modes that weren't possible in Modern Warfare. They could make a soldier do all sorts of crazy things that he can't really do in the modern day. How about like an anti-tank mech suit infantry class, jump packs, armor suits, hover tanks waging war, Terminator style hover vehicles roaming the skies raining hell down from above. I long for the day where I can fight on the ground again, disable the defences of a Titan and then drop pod on top of it, get into the ship, shooting my way through an intricately designed mothership as we blast through corridors and make our way to the central core before blowing it up with a plasma charge and escaping as it crashes to the ground. DICE, please. But, and here is the kicker, this is the one factor I think could throw a spanner into the works. DICE have already made a sci-fi game recently, Star Wars Battlefront, and are still making new content for it in the form of 4 DLC packs. Do they and EA really want another sci-fi game so soon? Does that make sense, and would it actually confuse people? Are they already bored of modelling blaster rifles and alternate universe vehicles? We shall see. So I think those are our options for theme and scenario, and they've all equally got a chance of becoming a reality. Maybe the next Battlefield game is something that I haven't even mentioned here, but please, as I said, vote for your pick in the poll if you haven't already. I really want to see what people think. Ultimately though, in my opinion, most Battlefield fans don't really care about the setting of the game. The important thing is that the game nails that glorious Battlefield gameplay that we know and love. The variation, the epic scale, the team play, the destruction, the unscripted moments, the funny ridiculous situations that you find yourself in, the kind of stuff that makes Battlefield Battlefield. That is what's important. And it's also important to remove the frustrating and confusing elements from the game too, most of which have been fixed already over the last year or so in BF4 by the team at DICE LA. The game doesn't crash anymore, the netcode is in great shape now, the balance of the game is very good, the UI has been cleaned up and is now fully customizable. A lot of the legacy bugs and issues with the Frostbite engine have been sorted out. So fingers crossed, whatever the new game is, all of those updates and the feedback and balancing that's taken place over the last year or so will be taken on board with Battlefield 2016. One last thing I wanted to mention too, and it's something that I've been saying since Battlefield 3, please do away with paid for map packs. It's not good for the longevity of the game, it splits up the player base, and I think the gaming industry is moving away from that now. Look at Halo 5 and Rainbow Six Siege as recent examples. Make new maps free for everyone, monetize future content in other ways with skins and interesting customization to characters, vehicles and weapons that you can actually notice in the game. People will buy that stuff. CSGO, TF2, LoL and Dota 2 are your perfect cash cow examples. And that's all for today guys, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm looking forward to Battlefield 2016 and I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. As always, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.